6 years ago, I sold my house and set off to travel the world. Since then, I've visited incredible places, experienced different cultures, and checked many destinations off my bucket list. I've always had a home base and an apartment to come back to in San Diego. But later this year, I'm doing something a little different. I'm giving up my apartment and I'm beginning a journey combining slow travel with my usual travel style for the majority of next year. Instead of constantly moving and only spending a few days in each destination, I'm slowing things down and spending 3 months in Europe to start out with. I'll live in Antibes, France for a month, and then Portugal for a month before heading to Greece. After years of traveling, I've realized that some places deserve more than a quick visit. I want to return to some of my favorites, settle into a routine, shop at local markets, find my favorite cafe, and experience what everyday life is really like living abroad. For me, travel is no longer just about seeing as much as possible and checking off a list. It's about experiencing a place more deeply. Grab a coffee or a cocktail, a notepad, and a pen, and let's get started. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I've been planning travel for over 30 years. On this channel, I give you a behind the scenes look at how a travel professional planner plans her own trips. I'll share not only where I'm going, but also why I choose certain destinations, how I make decisions, what works, what doesn't, and the lessons I've learned along the way. I've planned this trip very carefully, balancing my travel goals, my work, and my budget. My journey will begin before I even reach Europe. If you followed my travels, you know I rarely fly both ways to and from Europe anymore. I love the journey of crossing an ocean by ship. This gives me time to slow down, continue working with my clients, and adjust to a new time zone. For me, the adventure begins when I step on the ship, not when I land. Once I arrive in Europe, the pace changes. I'm beginning in the spring shoulder season because I prefer the mild weather, fewer crowds, and better availability than the busy summer months in Europe. Planning this trip has not been easy and it's taken some time, but I'm very happy with the places I've chosen. My plans may change, but the foundation is set. Let me show you where I plan on visiting and how I made my decisions. I will leave from Florida and cross the Atlantic for 16 days while stopping in Portugal, Africa, and Spain. I shop for the best cruise prices, not the least expensive, but the best value for me. My budget may be higher or lower than yours, but there's a cruise out there for everyone. These ocean crossing cruises happen in the spring and fall when ships are repositioning to or from the US and Europe. A crossing gives me time to work, slow down, reset, while at the same time switching into travel mode without airports, uncomfortable flights, or jet lag. I also look at the cruise itinerary immediately after the crossing and decided to do a back to back sailing, which means even more time to settle in and enjoy that gradual transition across the Atlantic and into the European lifestyle. For me, the price for the cruise after the crossing makes sense because I haven't been to several of the ports and I found a reasonable solo price. I also know that I can survive 3 weeks on a ship because I've done it before. If you are not sure if you can live on a ship that long, a back to back might not be the best choice for you. My first stop will be Antibes, France, where I'll spend a month. I chose Antibes very intentionally. After visiting many places throughout France in the past, the French Riviera, I wanted a home base that allows me to experience the region without constantly moving around. From Antibes, I can easily explore places like Nice, Cannes, Monaco, and the beautiful villages along the coast. But more importantly, I can create a daily routine. Because here's the thing, I'm still working during this entire trip, so I need a place where I can actually function day to day that's livable. I need reliable internet, walkable cafes, markets, and a rhythm that feels comfortable, not chaotic. Normally, when I'm planning trips for clients, I would move them around more often, especially if they're doing a 1 or 2 week vacation. But for slow travel on a long stay like this, I don't want constant transitions. I want stability. Another big reason I chose a base like Antibes is because friends can come visit and we can build easy day trips around it. From Antibes, we can visit places by train in under an hour, like Ez, St. Paul de Vence, Monaco, Cannes, and we can even take a coastal train trip into Italy. It becomes more about living in the region, and that's exactly what my goal is. I'm choosing hotels and not Airbnbs. It might surprise you that I'm not staying in Airbnbs, but I will be staying in boutique hotels. I thought about this for a long time and went back and forth. I know it might sound silly for a long stay, but here's why it works for me. If you have watched my other videos, you know that I love hotels. I'm also going for a very long time and I don't speak the language. First off, I want consistency. I don't want to deal with check in instructions, keys, cleaning schedules, broken appliances, or wondering if something will turn out to be as it was advertised on the internet. Second is service. When I'm working full time while traveling, I want things like daily housekeeping, a front desk staff if I need help or have questions. Also, I enjoy a balcony, a pool, and a spa on site. That doesn't ever hurt. But the third reason is the location. Hotels are usually in a more reliable central area where I can walk everywhere. In Antibes, I want to be close to the port, but I also want to be close to the old town. And the fourth reason I chose hotels is because hotels do not require payment up front, where Airbnbs do. And this ultimately became a major factor in my decision. I have to pay for the cruises in advance, and it makes more sense for me to spread my payments out over time and not all at once, since this is 8 months in advance. For me, it's more about ease and flow than anything else. After France, I plan to visit Portugal. I'll spend a week in Porto before slowing down again in the Algarve for 3 weeks. In a week, I can really settle into Porto and explore the riverfront, eat great food, and take day trip into the Douro Valley without feeling rushed. I didn't choose Lisbon because I've been there before, and although I enjoyed it, I don't feel the need to go back. Porto is a nice shift in energy before heading further south to the Algarve. 3 weeks in the Algarve, this is where my trip slows down again. The Algarve is perfect for longer stays because you're not trying to check off attractions. You can just live there. You can enjoy walks along the coastal cliffs, beach towns, and markets. You can take boat rides through caves and enjoy sea views and beautiful weather throughout your stay. Lagos will be my home base in the Algarve during this time. When I started looking at the Algarve, I had several beautiful towns to choose from, but I kept coming back to Lagos. What stands out to me is that Lagos offers the perfect mix for slow travel. There are stunning beaches and dramatic coastlines, but it also has a historic old town, local restaurants, cafes, markets, and enough activity that I won't feel isolated. Many areas in the Algarve are more resort focused or better suited for a short vacation, but Lagos to me is a place where I can actually live for many weeks. I can walk most places, take day trips, enjoy the ocean, and settle into a routine while still having plenty to do and explore. The Algarve in Portugal itself is so different from the French Riviera, and that contrast is why I structured this trip the way I did. Now, why am I doing this? One of the things I have to consider when planning this trip is the Shenzhen 90-day rule. As an American, I can spend up to 90 days within a 180-day period in the countries I'll be visiting in Europe. So I plan my itinerary carefully around that time frame. Another benefit is that I'll be traveling during the shoulder season and leaving the Algarve in early June just before the peak summer crowds arrive. There's actually one final part of this trip that ties everything together. Before I head back to the US, I'm planning on ending my time in Europe with a Greek island cruise because I had a few of those 90 days available still. I've been to Greece before, but as soon as I left, I wanted to go back. So that's the plan. 3 months in Europe, beginning and ending this portion of my year-long trip on a cruise that will give me slow, intentional way of moving through the Mediterranean. I'll share the planning process, the decisions behind each destination, the reality of slow travel, and what I learn along the way. I'm in the process of planning the following 3 months, which will be the summer months next year, by train through the US and Canada. So stay tuned. I'll also take you along on a crossing this October from Europe to the US, stopping at some great ports along the way. I'd love to know, would you ever slow travel if you had the opportunity, or do you prefer seeing as many places as possible in a short amount of time? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video and want to follow my upcoming travels, please subscribe. I thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.